The air inside the marble hallway felt colder than the winter mornings Aaron Hale had endured in the tiny room he rented with his 5-year-old son. But nothing compared to the shock freezing his breath now, because staring back at him from a massive golden frame was the face of his late wife, Mira, captured in a portrait far more glamorous, polished, and heartbreakingly alive than he had ever seen her. Aaron's trembling fingers brushed the edge of the frame as if touching her skin, as if reaching across death itself. But what shattered him wasn't just the portrait, it was the realization that this billionaire mansion, owned by the elusive magnate Jackson Morel, displayed Myra's image like she belonged here, like she had been someone else entirely. If you believe in hope, compassion, and second chances, Ripple of Love family, like, comment, share, and subscribe right now to support more stories filled with heart. Aaron had never imagined he would step foot into a world like this. Hours earlier he had been delivering lunchboxes on a borrowed bike, drenched in sweat and city dust, balancing exhaustion with the ache of grief he carried ever since Mira died in a tragic accident the year before. He worked 2 jobs, slept barely 3 hours a night, and still felt like he was failing little Rowan, whose innocent questions about his mother haunted him daily. Mira had always been the anchor holding them together, and when she was gone, Aaron's world collapsed into a quiet, suffocating void. But the mystery began when Aaron received a call from a private number requesting him to deliver food to the Morel estate, not to the front gates like usual, but inside, directly to the owner. The guard at the entrance verified his name before letting him in, something that made Aaron's nerves tighten. The mansion stretched endlessly, glowing under daylight pouring through skylights big enough to fit an entire city street inside them. Sculptures stood silently like guardians, and every surface gleamed. Aaron felt out of place, like a shadow drifting through a realm he didn't belong in. Jackson Morel, the billionaire known for being almost impossible to meet, had insisted on speaking with him. Aaron found that strange, but he assumed it was some mistake. Yet nothing prepared him for the portrait, for the flawless rendering of Mira in a black evening gown he had never seen, with her golden hair cascading in soft waves, eyes shining with a depth of emotion he once loved waking up to. It made no sense. He whispered inside himself that it must be some coincidence, someone who merely resembled her. But his heart knew, this was Mira. No doubt, no second guessing. Jackson Morel appeared moments later, stepping quietly into the hallway. Tall, immaculate, controlled, with eyes that carried the weight of secrets. His presence alone filled the room. But Aaron didn't look away from the portrait. He felt tears strain behind his eyes as he finally managed to ask Jackson why his wife's image hung in this palace of wealth. Jackson didn't answer at first. Instead, he studied Aaron, as if measuring how fragile he had become. Sunlight from the skylight above slid across the billionaire's face, revealing a flicker of something Aaron couldn't read, regret maybe, or grief, or something far more complicated. As Aaron waited for an explanation, memories of Mira flowed through him like a storm, how they met in college when she worked 2 part-time jobs just to pay tuition, how she chose a simple, honest life beside him instead of chasing bigger dreams, how she once told him she didn't need anything grand as long as they were together. He remembered her laughter the day their son was born, her tired eyes on their late-night feeding shifts, her promise that someday things would get easier. But things had only become harder, and losing her left him feeling like he was wandering through fog with no direction. Now here her face was, alive inside this mansion that smelled of wealth and secrets. Jackson slowly approached the portrait, his expression tight. He confessed that Mira had once worked here long before Aaron ever met her. She had been a caretaker for Jackson's mother during the final years of her illness. Jackson said he had admired Mira not for her beauty, but for her compassion, her gentleness, the way she treated his dying mother with dignity when everyone else had given up. After his mother passed, he commissioned the portrait as a tribute, then lost touch with Mira entirely when she left unexpectedly. Aaron's chest tightened. Mira had never mentioned this. She spoke little about her past, only telling him she wanted a life built from the present, not the scars behind her. But to see how deeply she had impacted someone as unreachable as Jackson made Aaron realize how much of her he never truly understood. Jackson then revealed a more devastating truth. Months before Myra's accident, she had written him a letter. She had asked for help, not for herself, but for Aaron and Rowan. She feared Aaron's small salary couldn't support them forever. She wanted Rowan to have opportunities she never had. Jackson had replied, offering financial support, a stable job for Aaron, and funding for Rowan's schooling. But Myra died before Jackson's offer ever reached her. Aaron's heart broke in a new way. Myra had carried worries she never shared. She had suffered silently, protecting their family from burdens she didn't want him to carry. He stood frozen, everything spinning. He wondered if Myra had felt hopeless, if she secretly feared leaving them behind, even though she never spoke of such things. The love he felt for her grew heavier, wrapped in guilt. Jackson then admitted the reason he called Aaron today. After discovering Myra died, he investigated the family she left behind. He learned of Aaron's struggles, the overdue rent, the exhausting delivery shifts, the nights Rowan slept hungry when Aaron couldn't afford enough food. Jackson had wanted to reach out months ago, but he hesitated, afraid of appearing as though he intended to insert himself into Myra's life again or disrupt Aaron's grieving process. Today, he finally found the courage. Aaron stood silent, tears running down his cheeks. Shame washed over him, not because he had struggled, but because he had never known Myra carried this dream for them. He felt exposed, like the world had peeled open a wound he never knew existed. But Jackson didn't judge him. Instead, he spoke gently, saying Myra had once told him that Aaron was the kindest man she had ever known, someone she trusted with her life. Hearing this, Aaron felt his knees weaken. Outside the hallway's tall windows, sunlight spilled over a serene courtyard as if the world wanted to comfort him. The quietness inside felt sacred, like Myra's presence lived in the air around them. Jackson took Aaron through the mansion, showing him things Myra had once touched, rooms she cleaned while humming softly, stories she had shared with his mother. It was like rediscovering her through someone else's memories. Aaron realized that grief didn't just belong to him, Myra had planted seeds of love everywhere she went. Then came the unexpected twist. Jackson offered Aaron a permanent job overseeing all deliveries and logistics for the estate, a stable position with benefits, enough to secure a home and a future for Rowan. He also offered to sponsor Rowan's education all the way through university, insisting that this was not charity but a tribute to Myra. Aaron resisted at first, pride nudging him to decline. But then he remembered Myra's hidden letter, her quiet worry, her hope for a better life for their son. Accepting the offer felt like accepting her wish. His hands shook as he nodded, overwhelmed by gratitude he couldn't express. If this story is touching your heart so far, Ripple of Love family, make sure to support it so more people can experience its warmth. Aaron and Rowan's lives transformed over the next months. They moved into a comfortable home near the estate, and Aaron finally slept at night without fear of losing everything. Rowan began attending a good school, smiling again, slowly healing from the loss of his mother. Though grief still lingered, Myra's love echoed through every new blessing. Please comment below what part touched you the most before you read this final message. In the final days of summer, Aaron returned to the mansion to thank Jackson again. They stood before Myra's portrait, sunlight illuminating her gentle smile. Aaron whispered in his heart that he would honor her memory by raising Rowan into the kind, compassionate person she always believed he would become. He realized that love doesn't vanish, it ripples into the lives of others, reshaping futures long after someone is gone. And as he walked away from the portrait, Aaron felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, peace. A quiet, powerful peace that whispered Myra was still guiding them, still watching over them, still loving them in ways he never understood. If this story touched your heart, Ripple of Love family, support it with your love, so more broken hearts can find healing, more lost souls can find light, and more stories like this can continue to shine hope into the world.